the Zoom there. We also will be doing after our webinars. What we typically do, it tends to be around 2 weeks after the webinar, we will do what's called a roundtable, and the roundtable is much more informal setting on the same topic. So this will allow you to come and bring your questions and just have a dialogue. You can have specific questions about your business that you want to ask. It's intended to be more casual and conversive. So once this is concluded, you will get an email with the link and the information about that, and you'll be able to come to the roundtable. So I just wanted to mention that. All right. So for the sake of everybody's time, we can get started, and I will try not to keep everyone here for the full hour today, and this is for the sake of time. I know everybody's busy. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about growth marketing. This is something that has gotten really popular in the world of business and marketing. I am your host, Chris Fasano, and thank you to Overit Studios for helping to put this on. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at Overit, and my responsibilities oversee our clients' growth. And so growth marketing is it's been around for a bit, and it's just really been coined, and the name, and it's gotten really popular. It really grew out of startups and startup tech, and it really came from this concept in startup where you have a lot of investment, right? You raise money, there's a lot of money there, and there's high expectations, and they're looking for a return on that investment. So they're going to put a lot of money in, and they really want to grow. And you tend to be on a lean budget. So it sort of grew out of that, and you had to do a lot more with a little. And it got coined growth hacking. That's another term you might see around growth marketing, because you need to hack some of these systems in marketing to get rapid growth. And then it took on a more formal title of growth marketing. So today we're going to talk about what growth marketing is, why a business needs it, what kinds of businesses need it, et cetera. In my opinion, all do. And what is the general? We're going to talk about a general approach to growth marketing. We're not going to get into very detailed strategies. Again, if you want to come to the roundtable in a couple of weeks and ask specific questions, where we can do that. So let's get into the first slide here. So in all businesses, let me just make sure that's advancing. Oh, let me get my clicker. Here we go. All right. So this is just general business philosophy here. Just let me put this up, and I'm going to explain why I have this here. This is not a business lesson. This is just going to speak to the purpose of growth. So the goal of most businesses is to be profitable. Now, not all businesses have that charter. For non-for-profits have a different mission. But even in a non-for-profit, the goal is to bring in more money than you expend, right? So and why I'm putting this up here is because, as you'll see on the next slide, there are two ways to grow your business. So you have revenue, that money that comes in, you convert a customer, they pay you some money. Then you have expense to run the business, you subtract that from the money comes in, and that's what you have as your net profit, right? So if you bring in more than you expend, you have a profit. If you bring in less than you expend, then you don't have a profit, okay? So this is the goal of most business in the end, really, is to be profitable, or to at least meet your expense and exceed it, right? Now, there are two ways you can grow businesses. You can grow them from the top, revenue, or you can grow them from the bottom, okay, profit. So what do I mean by that? So for example, most startups that were young businesses, you really have to grow the top before you deal with the bottom, right? So you're not going to necessarily be concerned about your profitability right away. Your goal is to bring customers in, convert them, get cash, grow. And then as you begin to grow, you're going to optimize your expense load to become more profitable. It's very normal for businesses to not be profitable when they first start, or when they're growing, to generate a customer base and revenue, generate loyalty, and then you start to optimize for profit. And one of the key things here is that it's always more expensive, almost always, but it's always more expensive to generate new customers acquisition than it is to keep them, to retain them, right? So that's a key part of a long-term growth strategy as well. You don't just want to get millions of customers, right? You want to be able to keep a solid percentage of them, because it's going to be much harder to keep filling your funnel than it is to keep people in your business, okay? So how do you grow from the top? How do you grow from the bottom? Well, growing from the top is like self-explanatory. You're going to get more dollars in. To do that, you need to increase the customer base. If you want to grow from the bottom, you can sort of, even if your revenue flattens out, you can decrease your expense load, work on your operational infrastructure so that you don't have to increase the top, but you decrease the bottom and you become more profitable. Today, we're going to focus really on top growth. We're not going to get into bottom growth. It is a strategy for certain businesses, but those businesses tend to be much more established and are looking to sort of increase their margins, and we're not really going to get into that too much. So this is a slide showing, this is the iPhone revenue. I thought this was an interesting graph. And if you just look here from 2009 all the way to 2014, the iPhone in revenue had 677% growth, right? $13 billion to $101 billion. Very rapid growth. Then, as you know, we got into 2019, you can see that there was this 2014 to 15, there was this $40 billion burst. And then in the 2015 to 2019, there was actually a negative net growth, minus 1%. They went from 153 to $142 billion. Now, does that mean that the iPhone did not generate them any growth at all in their company? No, because what they did was, in economies of scale, as you grow your business and you're adding more money, you can increase your manufacturing efficiencies, your operational infrastructure, and they become more profitable, okay? So this just illustrates that rapid growth, top-down growth from the beginning. It flattens out, and you start to build your bottom line by, normalizing your expense load. Another example here is, this is Facebook, or now known as Meta. What you can see here in blue is their revenue, and their net income or profitability is in black. So for Facebook, they added $20 billion in revenue over their first 6 years, and they had very little profit growth. Now, interestingly, with Facebook, they're continuing to grow top down at a very high number. See, their blue line basically turned up. They're continuing generating top, but they're also generating bottom as well. And they're probably doing that both ways. They're adding more people at the top, and they're optimizing their efficiencies at the bottom. Okay, so this just illustrates the point that, again, you can grow in two ways. Presumably, most businesses grow top first, revenue in, customers in, dollars in, optimize second, profitability follows. Okay, so just some real world examples. Okay, so clicking. Okay, so like anything in life, when you grow something and your goal is to grow it bigger and bigger and bigger, you have to have a solid infrastructure and a base to support the growth. Okay, like I garden a lot. I grow tomato plants. If anyone's ever done this, they get heavy, they'll fall over. You have to be able to use some sort of infrastructure or foundation to keep them up. It's just like anything else. And in business, and especially in marketing, it's the same. In sales, it's the same exact concept. You can't expect to have this sort of growth or rapid growth or any growth and not be able to support that in some way with an infrastructure. If you don't do that, even if you have a great product and a great brand and you have customers willing to pay for it, eventually it will collapse because you won't be able to handle the scale and you won't be able to continue to grow, right? So it's very important that from the beginning, you're thinking about your infrastructure. In this case, it's a marketing, sales, MarTech infrastructure. And if you've already been in business and your infrastructure is a mess, it's never too late to get a handle on it. It's just a little bit different approach and tends to be harder to start later. So you want to start your foundation building from a very early stage, getting ahead of it so you can handle growth. Building an infrastructure requires investment, which is why a lot of times you won't be profitable when you're growing rapidly, because you have to reinvest in the support for your long-term growth efforts. Okay, so you have to look at it like an investment. And in order to do that, in order to really plan it out, you need a growth marketing plan. And so today we're going to talk about the basics of this plan to help build an infrastructure foundation that will help support growth. How do we bring customers in? How do we grow the business? Okay, so we're going to begin with basic definition of what is growth marketing. All right, so people ask me this all the time, like, what is it? Why is it different? How is it different? So I found this graph here online, put the website there on the bottom. When you think about growth marketing, the difference really is, I call it full funnel marketing, okay? If you think about a sales funnel here on the left, marketing, general principles of marketing, you establish a brand, and then you bring people to the brand, and you bring them to your funnel, and they go in the funnel. And that's marketing, right? Marketing, in a sense, is just bringing people, attracting them to your brand, building a brand people like, building a why that sells the what you do, and attracting them to it. Growth marketing takes it a whole nother step further. And basically what it does is it goes all the way down the funnel. We bring people to the brand. We then squeeze them all the way down the funnel through all stages. We convert them to a paying customer. We keep them as a paying customer, and we keep them there for a long haul. So in growth, you have to think about it holistically. You have to think about every aspect. We're not just thinking about acquisition, bringing them to the funnel, and then letting it be. Okay. And again, this was born out of this concept of being lean. You know, high startup money, little bit limited resources, don't have a big staff. How can we grow? Well, we're going to need people to do a lot of things. And so this is how growth marketing was born. They think about everything full funnel. All right. So we go to the next slide. Sometimes there's a little delay, guys. Bear with me here. Okay. So one of the things about growth marketing that could be a bit unnerving is that it is what we call stochastic. And stochastic means that it's random. Okay. What does that mean? Well, it means that there's no one way that's going to work. And what you have to do is you have to do this proverbial throw a bunch of stuff at a wall and see what sticks. Okay. The thing that I love about growth marketing is that it requires experimentation. You have to test, you have to try, and you have to measure. And from all of that, you'll get a sense for, okay, I tried this and this didn't work. I tried this and this works. Okay. There isn't really a wrong or right answer in growth marketing, but there is a right approach. So you will be throwing a lot of things at the wall, but the key is that you have to know what you're throwing at the wall so that when something does stick, you can say, okay, I threw 5 things at the wall. One of them stuck. I know that one thing is this. I know it came from here. So I'm going to now re-up on that one thing, drop those 4 things out, and let's split this new one thing into 5 new things. Then we're going to test that out of that 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. And then from there we go, okay, B and C work. Now let's take B. So that's how it works. Okay. You're throwing a lot of things up at the wall. You get one that sticks. You take the one that sticks, you split that up, and you throw more at the wall. Okay, so there's an approach that's correct, but it's not really there's no wrong or right answer to what you're doing when you find an approach. Okay, so we're going to start. This image here is your goal. This is what you want and where you want to get to. So what are we looking at? Well, we're looking here on the right is your sales funnel. We're going to talk about that in a little bit with your stages. And on the left is the traffic of people when they're out in the world, wherever they are, and how we bring them into the funnel. And so what you want here is you want that traffic to come in. You want it tracked at every step. You want it to enter the funnel. You want to know every time that person moves through each phase of the funnel. You want all of that data to be communicating with each other. You can see those arrows that are going back and around like that. That means that when things come in, data gets generated, it's sending it around. We'll talk about a little bit of some of the acronyms like a MAP, marketing automation platform, CRM, customer resource management, ERP, enterprise resource platforms. All of those things are part of your infrastructure, but this is the goal. Okay. And what this will get you is attribution, knowing where things came from, how they came in, where they go when they get in, and what it takes for them to convert. Okay, so let's start piece by piece, because obviously, if this is the goal, you have to get there, right? You don't start with your goal. So the first step here is I believe it's build the sales funnel, and I'm just waiting for this thing to click. Okay. So the sales funnel is going to be your first piece, because that's really, when we're talking about growth and we're talking about generating customers, generating leads, they got to have a place to go. So you'd be surprised to learn that a lot of businesses don't have an established sales funnel. It's not really a knock on anything. It's just, people just want to get out there and start selling and bringing things in. So the funnel can be broken into different stages. There are traditional stages. The traditional stages in funnel tend to be awareness, interest, decision, and some sort of activation or conversion event, which is where you close them. And our funnels always invert at the bottom. You can see how it's an inverted funnel. And what that just symbolizes is that once you convert them to the sale at the bottom, you're not done marketing to them or working them, because you're going to want to retain them. And then you're going to want to get them to basically tell others to go back into the top of your funnel with a referral. Okay. So how do you build out a sales funnel? Well, if you have a sales process and you have a sales team, you work with your sales team, you work with the data that you have to establish a funnel in some regard. I mean, again, like some funnels will be a little different, but the principle would be this, always the same. So you work with your sales team. Don't overcomplicate it. We don't want to make it too crazy. You don't want to make multi-steps in there, because then it gets a little wonky in how the data gets captured. And one of the key parts to your sales funnel then would be establishing rules for how someone goes from one stage to the next. So they're going to come in at the top. They're going to be in that top phase. Then they're going to progress down. Okay. They could skip a bunch of steps or they could stay at the top forever. All right. We have to know what it takes or what we need to do to get them to move down. So we have to establish some of those rules. Okay. So you're going to start with you're going to start building your sales funnel. Okay. Once you build the sales funnel, the next step in the process is to build out or sort of choose and overlay what we call your MarTech, your marketing technologies. Okay. Now what are your marketing technologies? It's a range of things, and people, there's no right or wrong thing. It's basically dictated by the size of your business, what you're selling. It's e-com, is it B2B? All things are going to change. But the concept here is that you're going to pick and implement tools and softwares like a CRM, like a marketing automation platform. So these are like your HubSpots, your Salesforces, your QuickBooks, which is your accounting softwares. If you're in a specific vertical or niche, it's an ERP that's specific to that industry, to that vertical. If it's healthcare, if it's home services, they have their own things. And what you do then is you choose those, you put them in, you overlay your funnel with them. So now when people come into that funnel, they will be captured in your CRM. They will be tagged with certain tags that indicate where they are, what they're doing. And that'll communicate. If you can see here, that little line from CRM goes all the way back to that map over there, your marketing automation platform. And your marketing automation platform is going to allow you to automate communications and content delivery based on where they're moving in and out of the funnel. Okay, so this forms sort of the basis of your support. This is that foundation. It's going to capture everything. We're going to know exactly where they are, where they live. So I could say at any point in time, give me everyone in the interest phase right now. How many people do we have there? It'll roll me up that data. And I could say, great, send them this email, send them this thing. Okay. Now you can see part of your infrastructure is your website. That's also there. We can't forget about the website. I'm not including that right now because the assumption is that you have a website to begin with, but that's called typically your CMS, your content management system, like a WordPress. And that's going to be a very critical component to your MarTech and to your technology stack. Okay. So you get your funnel, you build out the technologies, you overlay them. So now we know where the data goes and we can start capturing the data. All right. So now what's next? Okay. Once you have your everything sort of built out and set up, sorry, I'm over-clicking. Once you have the foundation built and your MarTech and your tools are there, you can now begin the fun of driving traffic and driving people and bringing people to your brand, right? So now on the left, I bring in that picture of your inbound traffic, right? All that stuff starts coming in and you can build it in, right? So we can get up and running and then we get all this. But really, this is where I feel a lot of people get ahead of themselves. So they get everything going. They're excited. They want to drive traffic. And so they start doing that. They're doing that. And they get this situation here. This guy staring at all this stuff, all this data, because the one thing you will have no shortage of if you do this correctly is data. But the data has to mean something, because if it doesn't, and you don't know what you're measuring, you don't know how to optimize. And in a stochastic random process, you have to be able to make sense of randomness. Otherwise, it's just random. It looks like that. Okay, so before you really push the pedal on all of the stuff you want to do, you got to know some basic things that you want to capture. Okay, so how are you going to analyze the data? How are you going to measure everything? And again, this is different for every business. But the principle would be that you have some sort of metric for each level of the funnel. Okay, we call these KPIs, key performance indicators, metrics, data points, whatever you want to call them. For example, top funnel, awareness. Some of the things we measure in awareness is we do a survey, a brand survey. Are people familiar with the brand? What do they think about us before we start advertising? And then we do a survey later. What do they think about us after our advertising? Do we see more awareness? Are people typing in our name in the search engine? Did they type in Overit? Are they looking for us by name? How many visitors come to the site? What is our search engine results? How many impressions do we get from ads? Okay, these are things we can measure awareness, and we can see how it shifts over time. As you move further down the funnel, You're now looking at interest and possibly decision. I'm putting 2 stages of the funnel here because some of these KPIs can blend between multiple phases of the funnel. So are they clicking on our ads? What's our click-through rates? Are they opening our emails? Are they downloading content? Do they like us on Facebook? Finally, are they converting and are we capturing a lead? Okay, we're capturing these KPIs towards the middle of the funnel. Then you get towards the bottom of the funnel. The bottom of the funnel is where you're going to have what some people call activation or customer conversion decision. And really that's your closing rates, how many leads convert, how many numbers of new clients or new customers did you acquire. The closing rate by channel, we'll talk about that in a minute. Your monthly revenue, how much new business you added, the value of them. There's a bunch of different ones here. I just chose a couple. And these will be vary based on your business, okay? So you're establishing key metrics for each stage of the funnel so you can determine whether or not your efforts are being successful in getting people to those various stages, okay? Without that, you can have no idea what's happening. All you're gonna really know is, I brought 200 people here and I converted 2 of them, but you know nothing else. Okay, and that might be enough for you, but it's not going to be enough to scale in the end. You're going to have to get more finite, more granular data. So once you have those KPIs, once you have your data flowing, and now you're getting people in the funnel, things are moving. These are some of the key metrics that you want to get to, and this will take time. Now, I have a lot of people that we work with. I have a lot of clients, a lot of businesses that say to me, "What's my cost per acquisition? What is my all these metrics?" And I always have to like pump the brakes a little bit and say, we need the data to come in for a little bit before we can get here, because this will vary, right? You can imagine when you first start a business, it's going to cost you more money to get your acquisition. Over time, you're going to refine that, which is fine. But you need a certain amount of data before you can actually start to get these metrics. So what are we looking at? Cost per lead. How much does it cost to get somebody in the funnel with your marketing efforts? How much does it cost to acquire a customer? Cost per acquisition. What is the lifetime value of that customer? That's going to help you understand, like I said, optimizing your margins, right? You want to give promotions, you want to give discounts. You have to know how much your customers are going to give you over time. Your close rate per channel. That is like if I'm on Facebook, I'm on Google, I'm on all these outlets here, I'm advertising everywhere. What channel gives me the best rate of closing, right? That's an important metric. Your funnel progression conversion rates, right? As I move from awareness to interest to decision to customer, how long does it take? Like what is the percentage of people that go from here to here and then here to here, okay? And then the marketing cycle length is how long does it take that one lead to make it all the way through to the bottom, okay? Does it take 2 weeks? Does it take 2 days? Do they sit in the funnel for a month? I mean, it's important to know that, because if it takes a month from a lead to a customer, then you're going to have a long stretch where you're not making money on your marketing efforts. And you have to know that, because you got to build that into your cost structure, right? So this is the goal here, and this is where you want to get to. Now, what tactics do we use? Most growth marketing and marketers rely heavily on digital marketing. Now, it doesn't mean they're not using other forms of traditional marketing, but in most cases, rapid growth, sustainable growth requires digital marketing. Why? It's nimble. By definition, it can be changed quickly. And again, this is stochastic and random. You have to be able to change and experiment, go back and forth. And if you're putting a billboard up, the billboard's up. You can't go up, take that down in a week and change it, right? You can change it later, but that's not the game. The game is quick, quick, quick. So what is some digital marketing? You guys probably all know this by now, but you can just see a list of outlets here that we use. Content marketing, your website, your social, PPC, pay-per-click, SEM marketing, search marketing, email marketing, marketing automation, really the basics of digital marketing. Okay, it generates a lot of data quickly, and we can change it daily if we have to. Okay, I don't recommend that, but you can change it quickly. All right, so this is what's going to give you your growth, and this is going to be the main goal. Now, when you have digital efforts, the goal most of the time is to drive people to your website. Now, if you're on social, you're doing a post, you want to get engagement, that's one thing. But if you're trying to generate leads, you want to drive people to your site. So I'm using this example here. This is Ellis Medicine, local hospital here. And this, I just really love this website and its simplicity and its optimization for capture. So remember, the goal of your growth is to capture leads. Okay, yes, you want to have a website that's informative. You want to have a website that's going to tell a story, but you want a website that's going to capture leads. Okay, so especially if you're driving traffic to it. So what does that mean? Well, You should optimize it for the user experience. And so you have what we call UX UI designers that will go through this with an eye of, if I'm on here, what is going to make me stand out? That orange button right there draws my eyes to the orange, right? I'm going to click on that. A form is going to pop up. Very clear CTA, call to action. All right. If you don't have a website that's very optimized for capture, we create what's called landing pages. And landing pages are one-offs that we create that are solely designed for capture. The goal is to have your website be capture ready, but if it's not, we build landing pages to accommodate it while we get your website going, okay? The landing pages can be campaign specific. You have a very specific campaign that you want to run. You can generate a landing page specifically for that. There's no set rule. We use websites and landers, right? If you have your general information website and then you have a campaign specific lander, that's great. So you want to optimize for capture. And then the other thing that you want to make sure, I put this little rectangle box around here, is that when you, on that infrastructure stage that we talked about, when you're building it out, you're going to have what we call pixels that are embedded on your site. And think about it as like a threshold, like a gate. When people come to your website, they cross that gate, they're now going to be tracked. So, for example, let's say I come to this website and I click on the request appointment button and I convert and I fill out a form. Now, a cookie is generated and they're going to know what I do beyond that now. So let's say I go back to the website then the next day and I go into a couple pages and I'm looking at different things and all of that will be appended to the record. So now, not only do you know that I converted and I filled out a form, but I went to 5 pages in one day, and then the next day I went to this page, and then I went to Facebook and I clicked on that. So you're starting to build out the user journey, and you really can get a sense for how hot or warm or cold of a lead I am. The more things I do, the more I'm interested in your brand. And if you don't have that pixeled and you don't have those gates, you're not going to be able to understand that information. Okay, so optimize for capture, making sure that we pixel and track. So now we've built the funnel, we've built the MarTech infrastructure there, right? We've optimized the website for capture. We've pixeled so we can track. Now we have this situation here to some extent, and we're going to get ready. We're going to start to drive traffic. Now, then the final component here is what we call attribution, and it's all about attribution. So attribution means when a lead comes in, and you can look at that under that inbound web traffic bar there. You see direct, paid, social, organic. There are many different ways leads are coming in. We have to be able to know where they came from, and that's attribution. And so we do that in different ways. We use what's called UTMs, which you can see on the bottom here on that long URL. I mean, a lot of you guys are marketers listening to this. If not, you've all seen this if you clicked on one of these obnoxious URLs and they have all these things at the end of them. That means something. It's not just a bunch of stuff. And what that says is when someone clicks that link, then I know they came from Google search and that campaign. It tells me all that information. It rolls up into one place in a report in our CRM. Okay. We also use track phone numbers. Track phone numbers have a source appended to it. So phone number, 555-555-5555 comes from Google. So anytime someone calls that number, it gets credit to Google. So that comes in and it's tracked, okay? Without attribution, it's going to come into this funnel and we're going to know, yeah, it came in and it took, 70% of the people went down and then 30% went down, but we don't know where they came from. So your attribution is really important and that's just part of the setup. So now you have all of your infrastructure. You're going to be correctly attributed. You're pixeled. Now you can start to drive your traffic. Okay. So the next step here is to come up with your web traffic strategy. Okay. Web traffic can be approached with two ways, like a two-pronged approach. You have short-term and you have long-term. Okay. Now, when you're starting, you're going to have basically very little organic visibility, meaning if I type in your business in the search engine, I might not ever find it. Right? Because you just started, Google doesn't have any index on you. You're not going to be ranking for a lot of keywords. So we always recommend to all our clients that you start your SEO immediately. Because on the right, you can see how that looks. You see that longer tail, right? Before you start to rank. In the short term, you buy those keywords. So you are going to buy keywords that you want to rank for, and then you're going to work and use your SEO to rank for them eventually. So that over time, you can stop paying for those keywords because now you own them. So it's almost like a rent versus own situation. First, you're renting, and then the goal is to eventually buy, right? So think about it like that. So if you look at that bottom graph, that green line like that is keyword growth for a client. So you can see when you started, it was really low. And then you can see it gradually go up and up and up. That's exactly how an SEO and a keyword, organic keyword profile looks like. So in the beginning, we're buying a lot of keywords. And then towards the end, you have to trust now that you own them, you can get off the strategy, right? So a lot of growth marketing requires a heavy burden of paid because you're new and you're growing. But if you abandon SEO from the beginning, you're going to be renting forever, right? And the goal should be you want to own, right? So that it's really important not to be short-sighted here, because people will say, well, SEO, it's an investment, but I'm not going to see a return. Not immediately, but it will benefit you greatly to capture those keywords, because remember, your competitors are trying to get those keywords too. So you want to get them before them, and you want to plan for the future, and you want to grow, right? That's your long-term growth. That's your sustainable growth. Okay, so those are the two prongs, two facets of that. PPC, Google ads, Facebook ads, Bing ads, any sort of paid traffic. Okay, so you're driving traffic. Traffic's coming to your site. You're capturing the data. You have pixels on it. This is a view from Google Analytics here. What are we looking at? What we're looking at is where the traffic's coming from. Okay, so the event on the right is, let's call this form fill. So what you can see is we have traffic coming from multiple places. And you can see that it's descending in its, with the most traffic coming from the top and the lowest traffic coming from the bottom. This is not unusual profile. This is a very sound, organically strong brand. You can see that organic search drives the majority of their traffic, okay? Now, to the right of that, the next blue bar is the bounce rate. That tells me and tells us, when people come from that channel, what percentage of them only do one thing and then leave? The lower the number, the more things they do. The higher the number, the more times they bail pretty quickly. So you can see right away there are some differences. So organic search has the highest volume and it has the lowest bounce rate. So that is the most engaged traffic. People that come from there tend to do a lot of things. People that come from paid search, while less, they're 50% of the time bouncing. And display traffic, creative-based traffic, similar to paid in the amount, but very different in how engaged they are. Okay. Now the next bar is the goal completions, or your conversions. Let's call it a form fill. So you can see here that paid search has 314 goals completed. And while its bounce rate is 50%, it's still doing a really nice job of converting. Look at organic, right? If you look at that number, it took 110,000 users to convert 467, get 467 events. And on paid, it was only 4,000 that got you 314. So right away, I'm saying, wow, paid is doing really well. The conversion rate is going to be much higher on paid. Why? So you start to ask these questions. What's going on? Why have I? So then I'm going to look at the keywords versus organic. Maybe we're buying. Maybe we, so this is the experimentation. So you go through these steps and you say, well, you know what? My display traffic, I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy that 93% are bouncing and I'm only getting 50. So I'm going to optimize that. Or you know what? I'm not going to spend any more on display. I'm going to put more money into paid search because I'm getting more value for that. Okay. So this is the analysis that you get, and this is what you're going to use the data for. But you can't do this if you're not attributing, right? If you don't know. And you can't bring that in. The reason why analytics knows paid search is because we have our attribution correctly. Okay. All right. All right. So now, once we're driving traffic, we're converting, we're filling our funnel. Okay. Now, the next part is squeezing down the funnel, right? You don't just want to leave them at the top, because then they're just leads in a funnel. Right? In the end, if you're trying to pour something in a funnel and it doesn't come out the bottom, then what's the point of the funnel, right? The point of a funnel is to help you, consolidate your efforts into getting that thing out, right? But if there's nothing coming out of the funnel, what's the point of the funnel? So here, what I have is just an arbitrary funnel with random names for each stage. Your leads go in. Now, the key to bringing them down is content. Content is always king. It always rules the day. You can have the best strategy to drive traffic, but if you don't have good content and you don't have any ways to engage those leads, they might sit there forever. Okay, so this is where you're going to work with content team, and here we have an excellent content team at Overit that understands captured, understands engagement. So what you want to do is you're not just going to pick random content. You're going to pick content that's relevant to every stage. The more I move down the funnel, the more likely I am to convert, the more you probably want to give me more sort of sale related documents, right? So like if you look on the right on the intent phase, you're focusing on unique selling points. You're offering a free consult. You're reaching out. You can set up tasks for salespeople to call. Okay. So you want to make sure you're crafting and building content out for each stage. It's really important. Then on the left, those percentages, we're starting to now calculate what percentage of leads make it to each phase. So 90% of the people move from awareness to interest. So 100% is obviously at the top. Then 70% get to consideration. Only 20% get to intent. So there's a huge drop off between consideration and intent. Okay, so that's really our that's the bottleneck. That's the rate limiting step. So when we see that, what are we doing at that consideration phase? Should we change our content? Should we do something different? So you want to see that. If you see a drastic drop off, you really want to address that part of your funnel. Okay, and only 5% end up as a sale. Okay, so you want to do that. You obviously want to hope that that bottom number, 5%, goes up, and you get that up to a good number that you're comfortable with. But you got to know, you got to track it over time. Okay, but content is going to be the key to nurturing them. The next couple pieces. Okay, so here we have now we're running, right? We're driving traffic. We are we're filling the funnel. We have leads coming in. We're attributing correctly. We're capturing the data. We know what it looks like, and now we want to facilitate our ability to move leads down the funnel. How are we going to do that? What do we do? Well, that's why we built and we installed a marketing automation platform. And we're going to now start using automation to help bring those people down the funnel. We're going to build out automation workflows that are going to say, if you're in this stage, or if you do this, if you do that, deliver this content, deliver that. So just for the sake of an example, I'm going to put some things up, some things we can do. So if one of the things you can do that I love to do, which is a really, really smart growth hack, is you score. You score leads. So you build out a lead score based on some data, and you work with your sales team and your process team. And this just gives you an example of some stuff. So an email, someone opens an email, they get a 1. If they click an email, they get a 5 points. So you score people based on certain things. If they view a web page, they do this. But if they view a demo page, they get more. If they sign up for a webinar. So like everybody who signed up for this webinar right now, you might get scored a 15. Okay, your score just went up today because you took an interest in something that the brand is doing. Okay, now on the right, we can start to set up basically rules and automations. So when they sign up in some way for something, they got 10 points. When they visited a page, they got 15 points. And when they get 25 points, we send them a 15% discount code. Let's say they just signed up and they didn't visit a page. Well, they're only going to get a 5% discount or whatever that is, right? So you build out triggers based on score and actions based off of those scores. And so what this is doing, this is selling for you in the background. This is saying, this is qualifying leads for you. It's finding out when they get warmer, when they get hot, and it's sending them stuff at the right time. Or you can even trigger a task to have your salesperson call them. When they get to a 50, call them. Okay, and what that does is not only does it help your internal process, but it basically lets that lead know that you know what's up, right? Like I was just on your site for 20 minutes, then I get a phone call, right? Or I just did this, then I get a phone call, right? So I'm engaged with you, you're engaged with my brand, now I'm engaged with you. So it's the right place at the right time, okay? So that's one example. Scoring is really important. You set that up from the beginning and you modify it as you go. There's really no perfect there's no perfect rule to this. You just got to work with your team. Here is a nurture sequence. This is an automation sequence that starts from a free trial. If you have a free trial, I'm not going to go through this all, but you can see how it branches. Someone submits a trial form, then there's a delay that they get an email. Thank you for your free trial. Here's the details. Then it sends them an email every other day. And then it sends them this email highlighting product features. Every 3 days, you get something else. And then it goes on. And then when the trial's about to end, it lets them know the trial's going to end, wants them to sign up. Then if they don't sign up at the end of the trial, it sends them an offer 2 days later. Okay, so you can do this all in the background. So this is working for you, right? You're not actively doing this. This is working for you. Okay, that's the great thing about automation. You can sell while not selling. All right, that's a nurture sequence. And I think the last example I gave was a retention strategy. So this is sending someone an email 45 days before their subscription ends or whatever their plan ends, and then 30 days, and then a week, and then one day after, one day before, one day after they didn't re-sign up, you give them an offer, and it's all automated. And at every step, if they do something, it can always stop the automation, right? So you don't keep automating to people that just converted, okay? And you can build that into your logic, all right? So that's your automation. Okay, everything's flowing. We're scoring. We're nurturing. We're pulling down. We're attributing all the data. Now we can get to the data. Okay, now we can start to really look at everything and see where we're at. So you could start to build profiles like this, and this is what's called like user journey. You hear that a lot. So this is an example of somebody that converted. They came in through organic search. Then they view at 9:50 on May 21st. They looked at the digital marketing page twice, and they looked at internet marketing twice. Right then, I know that this lead is interested in a digital marketing and web traffic strategy. I can just tell that just by this profile. Then they left. Then 6 days later, they came back. They went to the internet marketing page again. They converted. They filled out a form. Okay, they were added to these workflows, and then Dan would be the salesperson in this case. Dan called the next day at 1:30. Then on that same day, right after, and while Dan was talking to that person on the phone, they were looking at our website. Okay, and then there was a series of follow-up emails. Dan sent some, and so you can see the whole picture of what happened with this lead. Okay, when you get that granular. We can also, these are how they came into a website, your starting page, where they went after that, where they went after that. And so we can now start to track what they did when they first got to the site, where they went after that first page, and start to build your digital behavior, if you will, of that lead. Beyond the conversion, they convert, they still did stuff. What did they do? They went here, they went there. That tells me a little bit more about them. And then we generate what's called a dashboard. So this now pulls all of your data in, and it will allow you to see in real time for most metrics. Some metrics aren't real time. You have to get there. But you'll be able to see things like dollars, leads, how many I sold, what my email campaigns look like, where did they come, total leads by source. So I got 100 leads from here, I got 100 leads from there, close rate by source, value by lead. So like it'll basically, all those KPIs we said we needed to establish, we build tiles on a dashboard for, and it allows you to do this. This is like what I call the canvas, right? So I'm looking at this canvas, and then from that canvas, we draw insight, and you generate a report. And the insights are really where you make your conclusions and you generate your experiments for the next month or for your next run. So, in May, there was X amount of them, this amount of orders. We converted this many people, and 810 people we brought in, 497 were added to the cart, 162 began a checkout, and only 104 completed the checkout. Okay, so 20% of the products added to the cart entered the checkout process, which was down from 27%. So we need to clearly go do some remarketing to that cart, because we're losing a lot of money in the cart. Okay, all of this comes from that canvas of data. All of that data comes from the foundation we built, and all of that foundation comes from your growth strategy up front. Okay, so that's sort of the progression here. The final step is iterate, optimize, and improve. It never stops. Never does. No matter how big your business gets, you're constantly iterating. You're doing that process over and over and over and over again. You're looking at it. You never want to be static. You always want to have a growth mindset, and you always want to keep going. So that's really the key here. Remember, it's completely random. Then all of a sudden next year, the pandemic or something happens, and all of those metrics that you were good with completely shift. Now we're not converting anyone on paid, and they're all coming from Facebook. Why? I don't know, but it's happening. But now I see it. So we got to pivot, and we got to figure out a new strategy. Okay. So you don't ever want to just stop. Okay. So in summary, growth marketing, we look at whole funnel, generating, nurturing, and closing leads, and also retaining and retention. We didn't really talk about that a lot today. Growth marketing is a science, right? Therefore, you need to experiment, right? In science, it's experimentation. You need it to actually get the data and to grow. You need a data tracking and MarTech infrastructure before you ramp up. You want to generate traffic to your site that can be attributed to a source. You want to have that site optimized for conversion so you can track it and as it goes into the funnel. You want to use automation and marketing automation to score those leads as they come in based on their behavior to advance them. And then you want to create more complex workflows, email and text, to consistently engage, and then you need content, a content strategy to deliver them something at each stage. And then you're going to take all that data, analyze it, and then you're going to repeat, grow, and you keep on going. All right. So that is the end of this this sort of little highlight on what growth marketing is, what the approach is. I'm happy to take any questions that you have. If there are questions, please go ahead and type them in. I'm looking at them here. And like I said, in 2 weeks, we'll also have a roundtable. As I'm waiting for some questions to pop up, I do have some frequently asked questions that I get. So I put those on the next slide, just so I can sort of answer questions that I kind of get a lot. So let me go to the next slide, and I'll wait to see if there's any questions that pop up. Okay, so I get this a lot. People will say to me, growth marketing is just for tech startups. I don't need it. That's not true. It's not. It's true that growth hacking and marketing was born out of startup tech, right? For what I mentioned at the beginning. But every single business needs to grow. So there's really that doesn't make sense to me on its face. Why do only tech startups need to grow? Every business needs to grow. So you use a growth strategy to grow, right? Makes sense. Okay, different than marketing strategy. I remember what growth strategy doesn't really do is establish your brand. Okay, I'm not a brand marketer. I'm not the one to call if you want to say, I want to establish my why and what the brand is, and I need logo. That's not a growth marketer's job. The growth marketer works in the confines of the brand. Without a brand, we can't do our job. So the brand is established, your brand comes together, and then within the brand, we grow, right? So they work together, but it's not that, okay? So, but again, it's for all businesses, not just startups. What if we were using digital marketing technologies and techniques, but we don't have a real infrastructure to capture and measure it? Is it too late? It's never too late. It's just more complicated. I like to use the analogy of like the Christmas lights. You know, when you first buy Christmas lights, they're nicely, neatly wrapped, and you can untangle them. If you have Christmas lights for a long time and you go into your garage and you get that big ball of Christmas lights, I think of the Christmas Vacation movie, they're all over the place. It's going to take you a long time to unravel everything and then rebuild it and redo it. So you want to start as early as possible, but it's never too late. It's just it'll take some time because you really have to decouple and do a lot of things. All right. People say this sounds really expensive. Do I need a big budget? No, you don't. In fact, growth hacking and marketing was born out of lean budgets because they needed to scale and grow fast, and they didn't have a lot of people to do it with. Okay, so it's actually the opposite of that. Now, it requires dollars to buy media and buy traffic, right? So you have to be willing to invest and spend there. If I run a non-for-profit, does it still apply? Of course, because again, the charter is a little different, but you're still trying to grow. You're still trying to add members. You're still trying to have extra money. You're still trying to grow your business. Still a business, right? So yes, it will apply. Is product marketing the same thing as growth marketing? It's different. Some principles apply, but product marketing really a lot of times focuses on launch, pre-launch, getting it out there ahead of time. And then growth marketing is once that's established, how do you bring customers into the funnel to buy that product? And then when should I look to hire a growth marketer or an agency that offers a service like Overit? My answer is as soon as possible. Like if you're just starting up, that's the best time. If you're in your growth mode, great. And if you already have grown and you're happy with your top line and you have a steady stream of customers and revenue come in at that point. We can look at retention, we can look at retaining, we can look at operational profit growing from the bottom, and we can look how can we get your flat revenue now to turn back up and grow again. Okay, so there's never a bad time to do it. There's better times, right, depending on your goals. But I would say that you should, if you're running a business or you're part of a business and you're in that decision-making process and you've never thought about a true growth strategy, there's never really a time where you can't, right? So you can look to an agency like Overit. We offer it as a service, which I think is a little unique than other agencies I know around here that don't offer service like that. So thank you for your time. It's like 50 minutes, looking at the timer in front of me. If you have any questions, you can email me. My email is right there, chris.fasano@overit.com. And again, you can, we're having a roundtable in a couple weeks. Please, when you see that, if you want to come and ask more specific questions. Bring your questions or bring your examples or even bring some of your data. If you have data, I'm happy to help you look at it. All right. So there's a question that just came in. How do you apply growth marketing to recruitment of healthcare assistants? It's a good question. So the question really is around recruitment. We do recruitment campaigns as well. So think about it like this. You can't run your business, especially in healthcare and these sort of businesses, without your employees and your team, right? So it's not a lead per se, but it's essential to operation and growth. Without people being able to do the work, you can't grow. So part of the strategy there would be to assess how much money do we have? What's your budget? So let's say we have $200,000 for this year, and we determine that we're going to need X amount to drive some leads. We're going to use the rest for recruitment, and that's part of the strategy. And we're going to treat it like a lead. Okay, so we're going to have a strategy about how we're going to get out there, how we're going to bring them in to our recruitment funnel. And we can make a separate funnel for this, right? It doesn't have to be the same because it's not, right? You're not converting a lead. You're recruiting an employee. And so we create that strategy. We go out there. We put the ads out. We capture, we attribute. We make offers. We bring people in. We have a process, and we see where the process gets clogged up. So I think you use this. We do it a lot. Recruitment campaigns, especially in healthcare, we run them constantly. They're an ongoing campaign, an evergreen campaign, and we apply the same principles here. We just create a separate funnel, and the funnel allows for different metrics because you're looking at different metrics. But yes, it's part of the growth of your business. It's part of your foundation. If you don't have the team, you can't scale. If you can't scale, you can't grow. So it's a good question. It's very relevant nowadays. Hiring, is very difficult right now, and especially in healthcare and a lot of industries. So, yes, you can apply it. It's same principles. It's just different funnel and different metrics that you track. Different approaches. Like some of the advertising techniques we use are a little different too, to recruit people in. Is there any other questions I can answer right now? I don't see any here. All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate the time. Again, 2 weeks will be a roundtable. Bring your data, bring your examples, bring your questions there, and we'll have a more further discussion. If you're looking for more information, you can go to overit.com, check out what we do. You can email me, chris.fasano@overit.com. Thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day.